Merry Christmas, everybody, and welcome to Bjorn Does Movies. I'm Bjorn, and I do movies. And today I've got a really special surprise for y'all. I bet a lot of you didn't know this was coming. I have done nothing to indicate that it's coming, so surprise, we're doing the Suicide Squad 4. A couple of weeks ago, like 4 weeks ago, I really popped up with an idea for this while I was writing Deadlands, which will be continuing, by the way. I'm just going to kind of alternate like Suicide Squad, Deadlands, back and forth. So I had this really awesome idea for where I could take the Suicide Squad, and I was like, well, I'm definitely going to go with that. I have to really write this out, so I came up with my cast of characters, and I wrote down my ideas, and I fleshed it out into a two-parter. Two different movies that are back-to-back, like Infinity War Endgame, which I'm going to say will end my iteration of the Suicide Squad probably permanently. I don't have any real plans moving the series forward, and I think this will be a kind of conclusive end to my little headcanon fictionalized version. This does have continuity with my last one, so if you haven't seen my writing the Suicide Squad 3 video, here's a link. It's in a very convenient full series where I just edited all the videos together. Go drop a view on that, and 2.5 hours later, sorry, it's very long, you can come back here and be caught up if you're still interested. So, and if not, you can watch this. It does stand alone. Just some characters are carryovers from that last film, and some plot points are carryovers from the previous film. So, bear that in mind. This does have continuity with that last series. That being said, let's play Oh No, My Grandson again, because we're going to introduce our squad again. So let's get the carryovers out of the way. We have, I think it's three carryovers from the last film. First, our most popular character in the poll I did after the last film is Sportsmaster, the man who can throw a football. Like, really good, guys. He's really good at sports. He's the same. I'm making no changes to him. He worked pretty well. He's the same guy. He could throw a football. Sportsmaster, folks. Up next, we've got Flatline, one of the other few survivors of my last film. She is also a carryover to this film and will be one of the main characters. Same as last time, she can speak to the dead. She's like a punk teen, and she really, really likes Japanese city pop, as cringe as that is. And our last carryover, none other than Clock King, who will be getting also a lot of attention in this film. I'm going to be fleshing out his backstory quite a bit, because for those who don't know, Clock King actually has one of the most interesting and tragic backstories in the entire DC canon, in my opinion. He has the potential to be an incredible villain. It's just right there, but no one's quite tapped into it outside of that original story. And he's kind of been relegated as a joke villain. And so I will be showing his backstory, and we'll be fleshing him out quite a bit in this film. So you can look forward to seeing a lot more of Clock King and where he'll go. Alright, let's get into the new members. This is what I know most people are excited for, to see what other characters I'm going to pull out. And I will give the same sort of blanket warning to comics fans that I gave when I wrote my last one. These characters will not be the same as they appear on page. In fact, there's a couple of these guys who I'm making really significant changes to. Just like I did last time. I think often people are afraid to change the canon of characters when they're adapting them into movies, and it could be to the film's detriment. So I am not afraid to change characters who I think need a revamp or have to be retooled to fit my idea and my vision. So that is a blanket warning. Alright, let's get into the squad. Our first new member is none other than Chemo. Now in the comic books, this guy is a big sort of living piece of radioactive plastic who is created by a mad scientist out of garbage. I'm not particularly a big fan of this character. He seems to be very similar to other monster DC characters in that he's like a comically evil, zero motivation sort of monster that destroys everything and sprays radiation everywhere and is very simple and doesn't say much. And it's just a very boring villain. That's a villain trapped straight out of like a 90s Power Ranger cartoon. The living radioactive man. And I think this is one of the characters I'm going to give a very, very large revamp to, because I think you see a lot of characters like this who start as very goofy one-note villains and then they get like reimagined. I would point to Dr. Freeze as a big example and an inspiration for what I was going for with my revamp of this character. So, revamped Chemo. What's his backstory and what's his abilities? Now, we will touch on it in the film a few times, but I'll go ahead and give a blanket overview. Chemo is a 22-year-old kid. He is diagnosed with terminal cancer in the brain, the lungs. It's metastasized all over his body, and he is dying. He's still in college, so he's dying, and he tries everything. Shamanism, all these different things, chemotherapy, everything. And eventually, they kind of give up. And he settles in with his girlfriend and his family and waits to die. A really tragic story, but hope arises when someone offers him an experimental form of chemotherapy. A very, very brazen and new one that has not undergone any human trials yet. It's been approved, and they offer young Chemo here the chance to become the first test subject, to which he agrees. What does he have to lose, so he thinks. And as a consequence, the chemical obviously doesn't work, and it leaves Chemo a walking radioactive disaster. Everywhere he goes, he sets off Geiger counters. He kills anyone around him, including his family and the doctors who were standing by his side while he received this experimental chemotherapy. As a result, he has been locked up in special containment inside of Belle Reve, so that he can't hurt or harm anyone else. So my new version of Chemo is sort of a tragic monster, unlike the original one where he's just a straight-up monster. This is a kid who was just desperate to stay alive, and as a result wound up hurting the people he loves, and through no fault of his own. And we're going to really flesh him out in this, and we're going to get to see a lot of him. So how does he function in the Suicide Squad, you ask? He's a big, walking, radioactive monster that kills everyone around him. Well, Waller has thought of everything, and she's designed a special suit made from lead and other radioactive resistant materials to sort of give him a walking suit of armor that protects others from him. And he can open small parts of it to release radiation in like a ray. So yeah, that's Chemo, our first new member. Rainbow Raider, a classic goofy character. He's going to be our Superman for this movie. Straight up tell y'all. He's going to be the guy that people go, what? That guy's in the movie? Wow, zany, the guy who rides on rainbows and shoots laser beams. No way. So yeah, it's Rainbow Raider. One of the classic Suicide Squad members. I think he's been in like some form of almost every iteration of it, more or less. He's kind of like Boomerang in that way. So, we're finally going to see him in my world. Alright, our next character is going to be none other than Battering Ram. He's got little like sheep horns on his head, and he can run right into things and sort of smash through walls. He's like a much, much lamer version of Juggernaut from the Marvel comic books. Yeah, it's Battering Ram. There he is, folks. Get excited. Up next, I have a character who is fulfilling my, what I call the 3-paragraph or less challenge. And every movie I've written of the Squad or any franchise probably going forward, I try to pick a character who has 3 paragraphs or less written about them on Wikipedia as I look at. And this character had a whopping 2, if I recall, with very little information about them. But there was something about this character that really jumped out at me, and I was like, ooh, I have to do this guy. I like him. And this character is the Hat, a guy who briefly fights Superman. I think it was Superman. And he has a magic hat that he can pull things out of. So I don't know what the angle is with this guy. He is, for some reason, bafflingly, the second hat-themed antagonist. Actually, no, there's 3. There's like Hat Thief or something, or Hat Man. The Hat Man. So there's 3 hat-themed, hat-adjacent DC characters, not including Dr. Fate. That, of course, being Mad Hatter, the Hat, and the Hat Man. I don't know what it is with hats. So, what is the Hat in my script? Well, he is a member of the Suicide Squad, clearly, and he has the ability to store things in his hat. He has a pocket dimension, a magically induced pocket dimension hidden inside of his top hat that he wears. And he can pull anything that's been stored out of it. And this magic hat has been passed down for generations through a family until it eventually reached the Hat. And he's used its capabilities to steal, rob, kill, maim, whatever. I'm not really going to go too far into why he's in Belle Reve. This might be something that comes up later. And you might be saying, whoa, magic. You haven't done magic before. And that's right, I have not done magic. Previously, these squads have sort of encountered science-based threats, not including the first Suicide Squad movie, which I hate and won't count. They've encountered mad scientists, people making scientific technology. So I think the logical next step to take the squad is into the realm of magic. The DC Comics universe has a huge supernatural sort of back catalog, and I flipped through several of the characters and then eventually sort of amalgamated a bunch of them into one character, who we'll get into when I talk about what the squad will be fighting. But for now, know that this story does involve magic, and we will see the squad encounter magic in a big way. Alright, so that is the Hat. So who's next? Our next character is none other than Electrocutioner 3. This is the 3rd guy to wear the Electrocutioner suit and the brother of the original Electrocutioner. He has, he's Electro. Let's just be real here. He's worse Electro. He has a technologically built suit that allows him to emit large amounts of electricity from his body, and he fights Batman and Robin, and he robs banks and is a mercenary. He's exactly what you're imagining. He shoots electricity from his body, and maybe there's more to him than that, maybe there isn't, and maybe we'll get into it. I don't know, and you don't know. I like Electrocutioner, and I had actually contemplated using Bolt. A commenter recommended that character to me, and I settled on Electrocutioner instead. But, mind you, commenter, you know who you are. You commented on my last video. I did take some influence from you to pick another character on this list. I looked down all the characters you recommended, because I hadn't heard of a couple of them, and I settled on one. So that's really cool, and thanks for that. I appreciate it a lot. If anyone else wants to recommend me characters, the sequel to this, I'm still building my cast, so if you've come out with someone I've never heard of that's really cool, hit me up with that, because I will definitely take a look. Up next, we've got a classic Suicide Squad character. This guy has appeared never as an actual member of the team, but someone who helps them and will be pivotal to our plot, especially in this towards the end of this movie, and that is Shade the Changing Man. He comes from an alternate dimension called Meta, and has a magic sort of technological magic fusion suit that allows him to project himself as your worst nightmare, sort of like a boggart from Harry Potter. And he is going to play a pivotal role in helping the squad against the particular threat for these movies. One other character that will appear is Lilith Clay. This is a character associated with the Teen Titans and has been both a hero and a villain. Currently she is in Belle Reve because she was a villain in this universe. She has the ability to see someone's future as long as she's interacting with them. Which Waller has been using to predict her own death and when it'll happen and how it'll happen. Alright, we've got one last character to talk about, and then we'll get into the villain and the actual plot. This guy is a vigilante. He's a Batman character, and he carries around big scythes that he uses to kill people. He's basically like what would happen if Batman just straight up murdered people and had no, care for life. And he's kind of fun in that way. We'll get to see him a little bit in this movie, so be on the lookout for that character. That is the Reaper. There he is, folks. So let's talk about our antagonists. I know I've said this a lot with several different things, but this movie is a heist. I like heists, and I've always find that they lend themselves very well to the Suicide Squad characters. I haven't done a Suicide Squad heist yet, although my Deadlands series is technically a heist, although the heist hasn't actually started yet where that is. So, let's talk about what they're stealing. Amanda Waller has been chasing ghosts and rumors for a while because, as I revealed in my little fake in-credit scene from the last movie, she has been diagnosed with terminal cancer, much like chemo. And she does not want to die. Amanda Waller is sort of a coward. She will do anything and everything to save herself and help her own. So she has been following rumors about something that will allow her to resurrect herself from the dead. A solidified piece of the Lazarus Pit, sort of like a magic stone. Another very similar thing to Deadlands. I swear to God, it's a coincidence, folks. She wants it so she can resurrect herself after she dies of her cancer. Lilith Clay told Waller exactly how she foresaw her death, and we'll see that in the film. And Waller is trying everything in her power to sort of avoid that fate. So, Waller has been trying to pursue this magic Lazarus stone all across the world, and has been using Lilith Clay to see how close she is to, getting it. So, let's get into our antagonists. Who are they? Who is the squad up against? Well, a rival heist group has been stealing the stone seemingly at every point and harassing Waller and the squad. Every time the squad gets close to taking it, it just vanishes again as this organization takes it away. This organization is led by Nightshade, a woman with shadow powers. The ability to control shadows and do all these things with shadows, teleport through shadows. We're not going to go too far into her. I'll put a pin in her until the actual script comes out, because we're going to pop into her motivations. But she is not alone. She has a daring team of fellow heisters, who we'll see two of in this film. Our first one is Gentleman Ghost, a man who has the ability to turn himself into a ghost, who also happens to be from the 1800s and has lived for a very, very long time. A fun character. Calculator. Calculator is returning from my previous movie, as I teased at the end of that series, and we're going to get to see some more Calculator and his misadventures since he somehow escapes the cult. What's he up to? How does he handle the loss of his previous leader? And how does he factor into this gang of thieves? And then, of course, a classic DC villain, Orca, a woman marine biologist who has the ability to transform herself into a gigantic orca whale man. Pretty cool. So those are our villains. Waller and the squad are trying to go across the country to several different locations to find and steal this Lazarus stone before Waller dies. So we've got a ticking clock element, and this other rival heist organization is pursuing them at every point. And maybe that's all the story is, or maybe there's something deeper and more interesting going on. Maybe they've just scratched the surface of a large conspiracy. You'll have to find out. And again, this is a two-parter, which means it's got a larger and more over-encompassing story than my previous film. It is going to be a little more smaller scale in that I have a smaller team, as you might have noticed. Do not be mistaken, I'm going to kill a lot of people. I did it before and I'm going to do it again, so don't get too attached. As for the theme, I always talk about the themes of my movie. And my theme for this two-parter is fear of death and facing one's own mortality, and a theme of learning to become a hero. Like we've seen in the previous Squad movies, this is a pretty common theme. But I'm going to really flesh it out in these movies. And in addition, there'll be some other themes going around. Maybe I'm keeping the cat in the bag for a little bit until we get more into the story. So, that is my pitch. We are going to be writing the script, as is typical. I've already started, and probably before Christmas or just after Christmas, I will have recorded and uploaded the first part. So y'all who are fans of my previous series will probably get a kick out of this. So you can look forward to that. There is a lot more material in this that I can actually talk about in this. I'm trying to avoid spoilers, as you can tell. I'm kind of grinning because I can think of all the fun things that are going to happen in this and where the story is actually going. And so yeah, you all can look forward to that. Let me know what you think. Suggest characters. Give me some ideas. Just generally, I'll try to answer every comment. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Alright, that's all. I'll talk to you all later.